Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday meditation for the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living's celebration service this Sunday. My name is Carol Cross. I'm one of the practitioners at TCSL, and I am delighted to be here, particularly because I haven't been here for a couple of weeks because one weekend my son was home from college. And last weekend I was up in the mountains, and it's the whole thing reminds me when in the before times when we had traveling musicians, a couple that would come here, Armand and Angelina, and they have a song saying that the title is "How Can I Miss You If You Won't Ever Leave?" And I realized that, even a little break, as much as I love being here, a little break makes me come back, more energized and more excited because I haven't been here for a couple of weeks. So I really thought that was a good topic for our meditation today because, we say God is in everything, and so that means God's in the pandemic, God's in the quarantine, God's in all of those things. And, these things have forced us to take a break from things. And we can get off of automatic. So, I know a lot of people who, I know a lot of women who've taken a permanent break from high heels, after not having to wear them to the office. They're just like, I'm done. I'm over high heels for good. Or people, have been spending more time cooking and eating healthier food. And even now that they're starting to go back to the office, they're like, I'm not going back to McDonald's every other day. So that's really what I thought we could do today is sort of meditate on some of the things that we've re-examined during these times of unusual times, and find the things that we're grateful for that we have taken a break from, the things that we're grateful that after taking a break we appreciate them so much more, and maybe something that we could serve ourselves if we took a break from. So I just invite you to close your eyes and take a couple of really deep breaths and to settle into your being here now and reflect for a few minutes on the value of taking a break, either for a short time or maybe for something for forever. invite you to return to your body from wherever you may have journeyed. I know my heart is just overflowing with gratitude right now. As I spend just a few minutes thinking of how grateful I am for the good that's come for me from taking a break. And since we're all one, I'm assuming that's what's going on in your heart as well. Master Eckhart said, if the only prayer you say in your entire life is thank you, that would be enough. So thank you for joining us this morning for our meditation. Thank you for bringing more gratitude to a world that lifts up not only us, but the entire world. So thank you for your contributions this morning. So the main show starts at 10:45. So get yourself a drink or something, and we'll see you back in a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Here in the room is up and hopping, and I was not here last week, so I am very glad to be here with everyone this morning. Welcome to everyone that is here at Sophie's Grill and Bar, and welcome to everyone who has welcomed us into your homes this morning. We are very glad that you, too, are participating in the service. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Dusty Rippelmeyer, and I have the privilege and the honor and the joy of being the spiritual director of this amazing community. We are part of a larger organization called Centers for Spiritual Living. We believe that there is one power and presence, one spirit, one God, one divinity that is back of everything that there is. It is within us and surrounding us. We were created in its image and likeness and not the other way around. It is a benevolent presence in our life, a loving presence, not something that is external to us, sitting up on a cloud somewhere, doling out punishments and rewards at whim, but really something that is within us, that is always present, that is always available, and that is always willing to support and guide and love us through everything. We believe that because we were created in its image and likeness, and because it is creative, that we too are creative, that we create the experiences of our lives through our thoughts, through our deeply held beliefs, and through our actions. And so that being the really good news is that if we don't like the experience that we're having currently, that we are the ones that can change it, and that we can and do create lives that we absolutely love to live. And so we gather together here on Sundays and on Zoom on Wednesday evenings and through classes and other social events to support each other as we walk this spiritual path. And so we're very glad that you have joined us today. I would love to thank Carol Cross for her amazing meditation this morning. It allowed each and every single one of us here to really go deep, and it helped to expand the container that our service will unfold within today. Speaking of Carol Cross, the lovely Carol Cross, I would like to invite her up to the podium and have all of us welcome our licensed spiritual practitioner, Carol Cross.
Hello, everyone. It is so great to have you with us this morning. Our theme for the month of September is Reaching Higher. Reverend Dusty's talk title for today is And Still I Rise. I'm now going to read this community's purpose statement. This is our reason for being here. Our purpose is to inspire, educate, and empower individuals to experience themselves as unique and individualized expressions of God, the love intelligence that governs the universe. We are committed to not merely a theoretical understanding of our oneness and unity with God, but to consciously practice this truth in our everyday lives. Through celebration, service, study, and fellowship, we are committed to the transformation of our personal lives and to being a powerful and beneficial presence on the planet. With the energy of unconditional love, simply, we are here for God. So our flower dedication this morning is for Reverend Dusty, and it's from Marianne Atwell Hardy, who I know speaks for us all, as she writes, "Happy birthday, Reverend Dusty, the heart and soul of TCSL. What a doozy of a year it's been for you. Last September, it was helping us all navigate a divisive election with compassion. You moved all services to streaming through Zoom, StreamYard, Facebook, whatever it took to keep us together. Over the holidays, you closed down Bearcat Way, which was a mammoth job to find home for many belongings. You took a pay cut to help the center stay afloat during the pandemic, and weekly adjusted COVID precautions to keep us all safe. In the spring, your beloved Cash left his Earth suit, and later Amadeus entered your life with a new set of challenges. During all of this, you continued to work at Duke as a gifted physical therapist who would meet the fluctuating staffing needs during a pandemic. You arranged picnics and gatherings when it seemed safe, virtual dance parties during our shutdown. Finding Sophie's Grill and Bar has been a blessing, but it requires a lot of work every week to set up and take down. All of this effort you do reinforces that we are a community that likes to be together. Whew. And yet, these challenging times are exactly what you have been preparing us all for. You have taught us that we are not subject to the outer world, but that our strength comes from our unity with God and with all sentient beings on this planet. That our thoughts create our reality, and that when we are aligned with our God-given purpose, anything is possible. That if we believe in the power of love, together we will build the beloved community. That we can live the truth that love always wins. Reverend Dusty, you live and breathe a purpose-driven life and are showing us that as a community, we are strong. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for giving us your heart, mind, and soul. Here's to another trip around the sun. All right, so now, oh yes, I forgot. No, that's not what I'm doing. Okay, so I know I need some grounding, and I imagine you do as well. So I invite you to close your outer eyes and let the centering sounds of the healing bowls wash over you. And into the room. And we are going to do our blessings of all faith. I'd like our beloved Terry to come up and join me for this ritual. The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living honors the diversity and threads of truth that run through all spiritual paths, as represented by this ceremony. Christianity is the path of Christ consciousness, love, and forgiveness. Buddhism is the path of compassion and understanding. Judaism is the ethical path of living by sacred law. Baha'i is the path of unity and peace. Islam is the path of submission to the will of God, the highest calling. Confucianism is the path of deliberate tradition. Taoism is the natural way, the path of ultimate reality. Native American practice and shamanic traditions are the paths of primal spirituality. Shintoism is the path of tribal ancestry. Hinduism is the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Science of mind and spirit is the path of the divine principle of love and law. And the heart represents the one heart, the one love that resides at the center of all people and all beings everywhere, with no exceptions. May peace prevail on earth through the followers of all paths. And so it is. Thank you, Terry. All right, so now I invite you to close your eyes again as I say a blessing on today's service. And my heart, my individualized aspect of that one heart, is very full today. And I know that it is a heart of unconditional love. It's a heart of beauty and joy and wisdom and strength, of abundance, of outrageousness. And I know that that heart beats not just in me, but in each one of us. That we are all sharing the same divine love, divine principle, divine essence that is the truth of who and what we are. Every one of us in the service, every one of us on the planet, every energy wave in the universe. It is all manifestations of the one. And so I know that as we stand in that place, that today is a divine gathering that will unfold perfectly in divine right order. I say a word of blessing on Ava and Heather, who make this all possible, makes it so that you can hear each other, you can see us, we can see you. Thank goodness for them, and thank goodness for the magic of technology. I say a word of blessing on Larry and the other volunteers who came early to create a place of excellence for this divine this divine occurrence to unfold. Thank you, Sean, for your service. I say a word of blessing on our musician, Karen Daly, whose beautiful music waters the soil of our soul. And I say a word of blessing on Reverend Dusty, as her wise words plant seeds in that soil that will blossom for days to come. And most of all, I say a word of blessing for everyone participating in today, whether here at Sophie's, whether over Facebook or YouTube, whether it happens in this moment or months from now. We're all energetically contributing to the excellence of this morning. So knowing that it's all good because it's all God, I just turn this over to the universe that always says yes and ask you to join me with our words, and so it is. And so it is. So I am so excited that today's reading is one of my favorite poems from one of my favorite poets, Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken? bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a path that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise. I rise. I rise. Thank you, Maya. But if there's anything I like more than poetry, it's poetry set to music. So we have a wonderful treat in store for us with our goddess of the guitar, Karen Daly.
You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it out. Mountains, we're gonna walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, rise like the day, and I'll rise up, rise unafraid, and I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves, and I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, and I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. When the silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains, take it to its feet, move mountains, and we'll rise up, rise like the day, and we'll rise up will do it 1,000 times again. Thank you. Thanks.
Apologize to Andra because this is now my favorite rendition of that absolutely beautiful song. So, oh, and I also want to take just a moment to thank everyone for their birthday wishes and to thank Marianne Hardy for her beautiful words. And to just thank the community because, you know, this isn't a one-woman show. Everyone participates, everyone shows up, everyone supports me and supports each other, and I am truly blessed. So thank you all so very much. It's a privilege. So, Maya Angelou, what an amazing woman. And that classic poem, Still I Rise, is, well, clearly, right, the namesake for this week's theme, for this week's talk title. And although it was written in response to a specific African American cultural experience, like all really, really good poetry, it articulates a deeper truth. So the refrain of Still I Rise is the heartbeat of truth, proclaiming that within each and every single one of us is that which is unstoppable, inexhaustible, inextinguishable, and unchangeable. That which is called God or Spirit or divine intelligence, that in which we live and move and have our being, that which rises up within us as us, that never, ever, ever can be oppressed. Never. Like a tender shoot of green that pushes up through the concrete sidewalk, life just rises up within us as us always. Always. Ernest Holmes wrote, "There is an inner urge in our own minds to grow, to expand, to break down the barriers of previous limitations, and to ever widen our experience. This persistent urge is a divine influence, an irresistible force, and constitutes the greatest impulse in human experience." It's an inner divine discontent, a persistent urge, an irresistible force that will not leave us alone. Something within us that compels us to know more, to do more, to be more, to express more. Despite the appearance or the experience of obstacles and adversity, life has a way of always rising, always expanding, always evolving. It's the nature of life to do that. And the really amazing thing is that every part of our journey through this thing called life is useful. Every part of our journey through this thing called life is actually necessary for Spirit to express what it wants to express through and as us. And not only does it want to express it through and as us, but it wants to do it in a very unique and individualized way that only we individually can bring forward. Ernest Holmes says, "This power for good uses every part of my human experience, the joyous and the challenging, the pleasure and the pain, to guide me to a deeper awareness and knowingness of itself as me. In God, nothing is wasted. All of my life experiences are used by the power of good, enabling me to help others and to bless the whole world. Nothing is wasted. All is good. All is God." Last month, in a talk called Rise and Reemerge, I talked about an amazing book called Emergence, 7 Steps to Radical Life Change by a man named Derek Rydell. Now this month, we have been diving deeper into that book during our Wednesday evening services, and it has been a really transformative time for all of us. During that talk and throughout the book, Derek Rydell and I have both been using the analogy of the acorn and the oak tree. The great oak, right, that great big huge tree, starts as an acorn. An acorn, a small seed that we would never expect to bring forward such a powerful and mighty expression. Packed inside that seed is an invisible pattern that is the perfect blueprint to become that oak. Packed inside that seed is an infinite and eternal potential. The same is absolutely true for each and every single one of us, with no exceptions. Just as the acorn doesn't come here as an empty shell, neither do we. Just as the seed doesn't have to try to make something of itself, neither do we. The seed we started as, the seed that we arrived on the planet, already contains the substance and the mechanics for the fulfillment of our lives. All it takes is the right conditions. For those who did not hear my talk on reemerging, Derek Rydell proposes that the whole model of personal development might be wrong. That we don't need to attract anything to us because we're not lacking anything. That we don't need to fix anything because we're already perfect. That we don't need to improve ourselves because the self, that self with a capital S, is already whole. He calls this the law of emergence. And what it says is that our deepest desires are not something that we have to go out and get. Our deepest desires are actually clues to what is already inside of us that is just trying to get out. Our work is to do whatever is necessary to reveal our innate wholeness. Our highest and best expression will always emerge when the conditions are right, just like it does for the acorn, just like it does for everything else in nature. It's not our job to make it happen. It is our job to make it welcome. Our highest and best expression will always rise up out of the experiences, out of the conditions, out of the situations, out of the circumstances, and out of the relationships of our lives. It will always rise up. According to Derek Rydell, we are here to serve what is emerging. We are here to serve that seed of purpose and potential that is speaking uniquely to each one of us in a way that only we can hear it in a way that we can understand what is ours to do and move forward on it. The work that we're here to do is first and foremost in consciousness. It is inner work, work that allows us to align ourselves with that unstoppable, that inextinguishable, that inexhaustible, that unchangeable power and presence that is within us. The invitation is to not look at the conditions, the situations, the circumstances, and the relationships of our lives and judge what is possible. To not look at the conditions, the situations, the circumstances, and the relationships of our lives and judge what we can and cannot do based on what has happened in the past or what has shown up in any given moment in time. To not look at what we are experiencing or the story that we've been telling ourselves about what we are experiencing and judge who we are or what we are capable of becoming in our lives. The invitation is to not deny the appearances, the conditions, the situations, the circumstances or the relationships, but to also not judge ourselves or our lives by them. Instead, the invitation is to learn from them, to use them to assist us to a greater understanding of what it is that we don't want, of what it is that we actually do want, of what we need to rise above, and what we need to say yes to and to ultimately become. Derek Rydell says, what is in the way is the way. What is in the way is the way. The people who survive when others do not, the people who thrive while others are merely surviving, the people who actually grow and evolve and transform and transcend and rise up in their lives do not look at the appearances, the conditions, the situations, the circumstances, or the relationships in their lives and say, because of that, I cannot do this. They do not listen to the old, outdated stories that they've been telling themselves throughout their lives and say, because of that story, I cannot be this. Instead, they learn from them, and they grow, and they evolve, and they transform, and they transcend, and they rise above in the face of all of it. They choose to incorporate the old story, embrace it, learn from it, and allow themselves to reframe it in a way that allows them to rise up out of victimhood, out of guilt, out of blame, out of fear, and outside of the tendency for each of us to stay stuck. Our potential is infinite, it is inexhaustible, and it is indestructible. It doesn't matter what has happened before. Anything is possible. In fact, it is often what felt unendurable that became the crucible that blasted away the small self, making way for the greater self to show up, that self with a capital S. That which was unbearable allowed the light to shine from within us out, really serving as a beacon in our own lives and in the lives of those around us. That which was most devastating produced the texture and the uniqueness that is who we really are, each one of us. Reverend Chris Michaels says, our problems, challenges, and limitations are tiny, insignificant matters compared with the immense power we have to overcome them. We are powerful beings. All of our power is generated from within. It rises up to meet whatever challenge it is faced with. This power is spiritual power that comes directly from the life of God within every individual, and it is limitless. In New Thought, it is often said about us by others that we tend to avoid pain and suffering via spiritual bypass or other forms of denial, that we see pain as other and bad rather than an extraordinary opportunity. Well, I don't believe that that is true of our teaching. I don't believe that. I learned that bypass, spiritual bypass, is a temporary and ultimately unsatisfying fix. That it robs us of the deep lessons, the wisdom, and the power that challenging life experiences can offer us. I learned that instead of running from pain when it comes to visit us, and come to visit us it will, that we can lean into a process of listening closely to that pain as it tells us what it came here to teach us. I learned that pain can be an opening for the greater expression of spirit. What if we reframed our pain to be that expression of spirit, a holy portal that leads us to the center of our own power and potential and purpose? Carl Jung says, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." I believe that our positive affirmations and our affirmative prayers are not forms of spiritual bypass and denial, but declarations of what is actually and already present on the spiritual side of life. Declaring it, welcoming it, inviting it in. Most of us have at least one area in our lives where we feel trapped by an external circumstance that is perhaps happening right now or happened in the future, or by an old story that we created and that we continue to keep telling ourselves. This story and the circumstances and what we've told ourselves about them have in the past or are currently dragging us down. We think that they won't change on their own, and we feel powerless to change them ourselves. Now, this can and does happen on an individual level and collectively as a family or a culture or a nation or the whole of humanity. The good news is that we have an opportunity to rise above them and to find peace and joy in our own lives right now in today's world. In order to do that, I believe that we have to really understand what our stories are capable of. If our story fills us with peace and joy and love, then we are creating that story from the deepest part of ourselves, from the truth of who we are, from our divinity. When our stories fill us with anger, resentment, frustration, worry, doubt, and fear, we are not creating from our divinity. We are creating from our perceptions, from our old beliefs, from our stories, from our judgment, and from the expectations that we have about how our lives should unfold or how others should behave. These stories and the emotions that we feel as we think about those stories can land us in a state of victimhood. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't experiences in our lives in which the perfect, appropriate emotional response is anger or grief or loss or despair or even fear. Many people in this room this morning or watching through StreamYard have experienced some really unimaginable things. We've probably all talked to someone in our lives that have experienced some really unimaginable things. We have all listened to the news or read on our computers the atrocities that people do to one another, that people have done to one another in the past or are continuing to do to one another in the present. I'm not saying that we should not feel anger, grief, loss, despair, or fear. Those emotions, all of those emotions, can be very powerful emotions. When used appropriately, they can prompt us to take action. They can propel us forward, giving us the energy to move through and beyond the experience, to rise up above it. All of these emotions, however, must be felt fully, first and foremost, in order for us to really rise up above them. Often we might not even really be aware of how deeply entrenched some of these emotions and stories are until we take the time to really figure out what is blocking us from moving forward. The invitation is to feel them fully, but to not stay stuck in them. To ask for assistance to move through them if need be. Whenever we are feeling stressed or intimidated or like a failure, it's because we've allowed our emotions and our stories to have control over our thoughts and therefore over our actions. We can decide today that no matter what the situation, we will no longer give our power away to others or to our emotions. We can decide to let go of how we think things should have happened and of what we think others should think or feel or do. We can decide to let go of our tendency to blame others for our problems. We can decide today to let go of our anger and resentment, our guilt and our remorse, our need to continue to be a victim. We can decide today to rise above our emotions and stories and step into a new way of being in the world. We can decide today, as Derek Rydell suggests, to activate the divine purpose and potential that is within us and welcome in the life for which we were born. The invitation is to uncover our vision, that seed of potential that has already been planted within us. Not a picture of what will be in the future, but a realization, a declaration of what is in the timeless dimension of our consciousness. Already in that timeless dimension. The invitation is to bring our inner life into alignment with the vision, ending the struggle to make something happen and mastering the skill of welcoming it. To engineer the inner and outer vision into a way of life that takes us from living on accident to a life of living on purpose. The invitation is to act as if the vision already is, to put on the coat of someone who is already doing the thing, or who already is the thing that we want to do or that we want to be. The invitation is to embrace whatever appears broken, knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are already whole, perfect, and complete. The invitation is to give ourselves to others and to ourselves whatever appears missing in our lives, allowing our imprisoned splendor, our imprisoned potential to shine out from within. The invitation is to do what is ours to do and to allow the divine as the law to do what it does. To do what it does invisibly, underneath the surface, to give us the kingdom of heaven on earth. As I prepared for today's talk, one idea that kept re-emerging for me again and again was that we often ask ourselves, each other, and the universe the wrong questions. Questions that have more to do with the problem. Questions that keep us stuck in lack and limitation and confusion and frustration and chaos. Instead, the invitation is to ask questions that allow us to rise up above the fray to a new point of view, to a greater and deeper understanding. Questions that actually expand our awareness and open us up to possibility. Questions that direct our attention to what we want rather than to what we don't want. The underlying truth is, ask and ye shall receive. But not all questions are created equal. Why am I such a failure, and why is this not working for me? Will give us a lot of answers about why I am such a failure or why this is not working for me, but it keeps us stuck in the problem. Instead of asking, why can't I, ask, how can I? What is the great vision of my life? What have I come here for? What is seeking to express through and as me? What is this challenging experience seeking to activate within me so that I can live a bigger and better life? What is the gift? What is the lesson? What is the blessing? Derek Rydell says, the question we ask is the quest we are on. The question we ask is the quest we are on. Our answers to such questions as, what would I do if I was totally loved and supported? What would I do if I was brilliant and talented? What would I do if I had everything I needed? What would I do if I knew I could not fail? Lead to a new kind of action on our part, a new kind of action based on a fundamental affirmation of our being. And that fundamental affirmation of our being is that we are totally loved and supported. We do have everything that we need, and we are inherently beautiful and brilliant and magnificent and mighty and strong and courageous and bold. These are the questions we can and should be asking ourselves and each other. Speaking of questions, I end this morning's message with some questions posed by a woman named Lisa Nichols in a very inspirational video that you can find on YouTube. Lisa Nichols. Are you willing? Are you willing to disrupt any form of what you know? Are you willing to reinvent yourself? Are you willing to be someone you've never been before? Are you willing? Are you willing to run, leap, and soar even in the face of the possibility that you might fall? Are you willing to do something you've never done before, say something you've never said before? Are you willing? Are you willing to do the things that you don't want to do? Say the things that you don't want to say so that you can be the woman or the man that you came here to be, so that you can be the woman or the man that you have always known yourself to be. Are you willing? And lastly, I ask, not Lisa Nichols, but I ask, are you willing to believe once and for all that you are enough? That you are worthy of and deserving of all that is inherently yours as a divine emanation of the divine. When your answer to that question is a full body yes, you will be able, like Maya Angelou, to say, no matter the situation, the condition, the circumstance, or the relationship, and still I rise. I promise you. And still I rise. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It is now time for a prayer. So just a moment here. It's now time for prayer. So I just invite everyone to turn within, to allow ourselves to turn our attention to that inner aspect of our being, that core of love and peace and joy. To know that we are one with this power and presence, that it is that which created us in its image and likeness, that right where we are, the divine is in its fullness and in its wholeness, that we are never without its presence, that we are able to tap into it, to invite it in, to welcome it. We are one with it. We are one with each other because of this golden thread of divinity that runs throughout all of life. And it is from that place of unity that I speak these words about and for each of us this morning, truly knowing that we can live our lives from a place that we create, from a place that we welcome in, from a place that is deeply connected to our wholeness, to our perfection, to our oneness, to our divinity. That it is already within us, and all we need to do is to create the right conditions, to let loose anything that is in resistance to that life, to discover and uncover that vision, that purpose, that seed of potential that is within us, and to let it shine, to listen to our desires, and to know that we don't have to go out and get them, we just have to let them out. And so I claim ease and grace for each of us around creating that kind of life, a life that we love to live, a life that is inspiring to others, a life that shows the way, that is a beacon for anyone struggling, anyone who has lost their way. And that who we are becomes a blueprint for everyone else. That we serve that which is emerging by being that. And the whole world changes because of it. I'm so grateful to know this truth and to speak these words. So grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes. And so I speak them and I release them with love and gratitude and full expectation of their manifestation, letting go and letting God be God, doing the inner work that I need to do, claiming what is already on the spiritual side, and then allowing God, the universe, to do the rest. So I say yes. And I invite each of us to say yes, simply by saying, and so it is. And so it is. Amen. It is now time for our conscious giving. And so please take your gifts and hold them against your heart and allow yourself a moment to really be grateful. Grateful for all of the blessings, all of the abundance, all of the prosperity, all of the love that we have in our lives. And to know that as we are grateful for that, that we actually invite more in, that gratitude is generative. And as we are willing to share of some of that, we powerfully step into the circulation of life, that giving and receiving are one and the same. I'm so grateful for these gifts, however big or small, knowing that they allow this community to thrive and that they prosper the one giving and that they add to the energy of sufficiency on the planet. So there's a number of ways that we can give, and they're here on the screen. Visit our website, trianglecsl.org, and there's a give button on that front page. Text give to 919-230-8445, or you can send a check to PO Box 4062, Cary, North Carolina 27519. So please repeat after me in a call and response. I live in an abundant universe that blesses and prospers my life. I give with gratitude, knowing that God is my source. And so it is. Thank you all so very much for your gifts and your presence here today. And now please join me as we welcome back to her guitar the lovely, the amazingly talented Karen Daly.
To invite and allow. I like that. It's going to be my mantra for the day at least.
People get ready, there's a train a-coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. So people get ready for the train to Jordan, picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key, open the doors and board them. There's hope for all amongst the loved and lost. there's a train coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get right on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesels humming. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. Thank you, and happy birthday, Dusty!
Oh, my goodness. And I thank the Lord that He has blessed us with such just an amazing person as well as an amazing musician. So, thank you, Karen. Okay. If anyone would like prayer, please go to our website at trianglecsl.org. On the home page, there's a button in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that button and fill in the request form. We will get that prayer and send it out to all of our ministers and practitioners to pray along with you. Now, if there is someone or something you would like to honor or celebrate, we would love to have your flower dedication. And you can contact either Heather at info@trianglecsl.org or Reverend Dusty at dustyrippelmeyer@yahoo.com and claim your date. All right, now I don't know what you think you're doing on Wednesday, but I tell you what you should be doing, which is joining us for a very special movie night. We are going to show a documentary called Hip Hopperation. So it's a documentary about a dance troupe from New Zealand whose youngest member is 63, who traveled to Las Vegas to perform in an international hip-hop competition. As the tagline says, you're never too old to go on the journey of a lifetime. In a month whose theme is reaching higher, the film reminds us who we can be as human beings when we operate at our very best. So it's going to be held at the Lodge at Crossroads starting at 7. So be there, and we are all going to be inspired. We also have a Save the Date announcement for an evening of bingo. That will also be at the Lodge at Crossroads on Friday, October 22nd, 6:30 to 9:30. And more information, I think Mr. John is going to be our bingo host, so you know that's guaranteed a good time. So, but more information will be coming. We are starting a new class on this Tuesday, so you want to hop on board that. It is called Keys to Consciousness for Personal Spiritual Growth. It is a 6-week online class that is divided into 3 modules. If you are new to the center, it is the perfect and right way to understand and embody our teachings. And for a long time, the right and perfect way to revisit the practices and principles in order to powerfully and consciously utilize them in your everyday life. The class will be held on 6 Tuesday evenings, beginning Tuesday, September 28th, running through Tuesday, November 2nd from 6:30 to 9:30. It is held on Zoom and will be facilitated by Reverend Dusty, and I think Heather is also helping with that class, so you couldn't have a better pair of teachers. The cost is a mere $75, and payment plans are available. You can register through our website with a $25 deposit. But today is the final day of registration, so act now. All right, now is the time when everybody gets to practice rising up as we do our last version of our September affirmations. So this is a call and response. Say it like you mean it, and repeat after me. I recognize that the only moment that exists is the present moment. I choose to make friends with this moment. The form it takes doesn't matter. I say yes to it all. It is the key to my transformation and my transcendence. Every part of my journey is useful and necessary. Every step of the way is an extension of my faith. As I rise up, Spirit uses me to assist others to rise. This is how we create a world that works for all. The power of God rises in me, in all of us, and we are free. And so it is. All right, so once again, close your eyes briefly. I know I need to close my eyes because that beautiful golden Buddha that resides in everyone and everything is shining so brightly here in Sophie's Grill and Bar, as I'm sure it is at home. And it is the light of divine grace, the light of unconditional love, the light of beauty and joy and abundance and all good things. It is the light that is the truth within each and every one of us. And that light got just a little brighter through everybody's contributions today. So I'm so thankful. I am so thankful for this entire event. I'm so thankful for everybody's contributions. I'm so thankful for the talents not only of Dusty and Karen, but, you know, the talents of Babs in creating a beautiful flower dedication, or beautiful flowers for Mary Ann's beautiful words, in the selfless service of Sean and Mark and Ava and Heather. Just so much love, so many gifts, such a great time. Glad you were here. So knowing that this is going to transform and transcend our lives in the days to come, I just turn it over to the universe and ask you to affirm it for yourself and for each of us with our words, and so it is. So it is.
Amen. Thank you all, everyone, for being here, for joining us online. Have an awesome, awesome week. I love you all madly. Thank you.